This is Andrew Steffan, and I'm here today to talk about Alfred Hitchcock's thriller Vertigo, or more specifically, the use of color in Vertigo. Released in 1958, Vertigo is a psychological thriller starring James Stewart and Kim Novak. It is based upon the French novel The Living and the Dead and was adapted to the screen by Alec Copel and Samuel A. Taylor. While its reception was mixed upon release, over time it has garnered critical acclaim and is often cited as one of Hitchcock's defining works. Often cited for its use of the infamous dolly zoom, I wanted to instead examine one of the aspects of Vertigo that is often overlooked, and that is Hitchcock's use of color. The main color motif that he employs is that of red and green, each representing different dynamics and emotions surrounding the main characters, John Scotty Ferguson and Madeline Esther, aka Judy Bart, as we find out later in the film. Red is the first noticeable color of the film, especially in the title sequence where the word vertigo is placed in the middle of a close-up shot of an eye, washed in red. Hitchcock uses the color red to exemplify Scotty's sense of danger, but also his fantasies of romance and love. Some excellent examples of this are found early in the film, such as during his nightmare in the cemetery with a red-washed background, and a prominent display of roses when we are first uncovering the relationship between Scotty and Midge, following his life-changing acrophobic experience. Galvin Esther, who hires Scotty to follow Madeline, is also surrounded by red, foreshadowing the danger and revelations that are to follow. Green could be interpreted as a color of obsession and envy or want. Early in the film, it is a very particular light shade, a washy kind of mint green. It makes its first mark with the introduction of Madeline, as Scotty sits quietly watching her at the bar. This scene is the first where the two colors contrast, Madeline's green against the red backdrop of the bar, a contrast of reality and fantasy, and the beginning of Scotty's obsession with a woman who is not who she seems. As Scotty follows her, the color green becomes more prominent. Even her car is a shade of green. After saving her from drowning in the San Francisco Bay, he takes her back to his apartment where his clothes, his cushions, and many fixtures around him are that same mint green, a way of showing how quickly Scotty has begun to fall for the ethereal woman. The seeds of his obsession are sown. He gives Madeline a red polka-dotted robe to wear, which is also significant because the next day, when Madeline ends up driving Scotty out to a forest, Scotty is wearing a red and white dotted tie, which is difficult to write off as a coincidence. Also notice, Madeline is the one driving. Scotty's position on the passenger seat in Madeline's mint green furnished car cement the idea that he is letting her take him for a ride into obsession. As for green symbolizing envy or want, that comes to the front in the second act of the film, after Madeline's supposed death. Scotty discovers a girl who bears a close resemblance to Madeline, so he follows her to her hotel and insists his way into her life. Of course, this woman, Judy, really is Madeline, or is playing the role as part of an insurance scam. She wears green like in her previous guise, but whereas Madeline's greens were always weak and diluted, Judy's green is strong and bold. It is clear that she is the non-fictional woman. Scotty's obsession spirals out of control, and tragically, he sets about transforming Judy back into the Madeline that never really was. His envy and obsession are uncomfortably misogynistic because he rejects the real woman, Judy, in favor of his fantasy woman, Madeline. The motif culminates during the transformation, a scene which takes place in Judy's home, the Empire Hotel. After Judy undergoes the transformation to revert back to looking like Madeline at Scotty's behest, all of the romantic tension that had been portrayed between the earlier incarnations of the characters come roaring back onto the screen. The close-up shots of Judy's eyes, which are green, and of her lips, which are a radiant red, start the scene. The neon green lights, visible from the hotel window, cannot be understated, as Hitchcock makes this his centerpiece for the visuals of the romantic embrace to come. When Judy first enters the room and turns to face Scotty, the glow of the green neon lights is featured in a reflection of the mirror next to Judy, suggesting a full-fledged return to the character of Madeline, a return to fantasy, if you will. Wherever Judy walks in the room, the glow of the neon green's reflection seems to be calling to her, something that suggests that no matter how hard she has tried to avoid it, she cannot seem to shake the persona of Madeline. When Judy returns from the bathroom, her body is painted by the camera in a glimmering white-green light, which signifies Scotty's belief that she is his fantasy, an angelic figure just for him. As the two embrace lovingly for the first time since Madeline's supposed death, the camera rotates around them, giving the audience a full-circle view of Hitchcock's motif and themes all in one shot. For the beginning, the characters seem to have been transported from the hotel room to a view of the livery stables, something only Scotty seems to notice, which suggests it is his own hallucination. The contrast of the dark colors of the stable fade, as the two embrace and Scotty submits to his desires and whims. The green reflection from the neon sign across the street only seems to grow stronger as the kiss goes on, and only fades once the scene ends. The transformation is the culmination of an entire career's worth of color motif and subliminal trickery for Hitchcock, and is one of his finest moments because of it. It fully captures the emotions of the characters and demonstrates the power of desire and the ramification of submitting to it. Once Scotty and Judy have succumbed to their passion, Hitchcock changes the tone of the film and turns it into a dark and foreboding series of sequences that ultimately end in tragedy so grand in scale that it could be described as Shakespearean. The color motifs in Vertigo, and especially in the aforementioned transformation scene, do more for the development and themes of the plot than the dialogue and actual storyline could ever dream of. And that's the way Hitchcock planned it.
I heard voices. God have mercy.